Let's go shopping, Peppa. Once upon a time, Peppa and George were having their breakfast.
What are we doing today, Daddy?
Asked Peppa. We need to go shopping, replied Daddy Pig, rubbing his tummy. For lunch.
Yippee!
Cheered Peppa and George. They loved going shopping. When breakfast was finished, everyone jumped into the car.
We're here!
Cheered Peppa when they arrived at the supermarket. Peppa and George leapt out of the car and started jumping up and down excitedly. They loved the supermarket.
First, we need a trolley,
said Peppa. Daddy Pig put George in the trolley, said George happily.
Daddy,
said Peppa.
Can I sit in the trolley too?
Laughed Daddy Pig. You're too big, Peppa, but you can help with the shopping.
Oh, goody,
said Peppa, skipping into the supermarket. There was so much to see inside.
Can we get one of everything?
Asked Peppa. No, Peppa, that would be far too much, replied Mummy Pig.
But how do we know what to get?
Asked Peppa. We use this, said Daddy Pig, holding up a piece of paper.
Ugh,
said Peppa.
What's that?
It's our shopping list, explained Mummy Pig. We have 4 things on our list. Daddy Pig looked at the list closely and read it aloud slowly. 4 tomatoes, spaghetti, 4 onions, fruit. 4 tomatoes, spaghetti, 4 onions, fruit.
I'll find it all,
said Peppa.
I can see the tomatoes,
cried Peppa. Peppa counted 4 tomatoes as Mummy Pig put them into a bag. 1, 2, 3, 4. She skipped off to put them in the trolley. Daddy Pig crossed them off the list. What's next on the list? Asked Mummy Pig. Can you remember?
Spaghetti!
Cheered Peppa.
Spaghetti!
Cheered George. Spaghetti was Peppa and George's favourite.
I can see it,
cried Peppa.
Follow me.
Peppa found the spaghetti and put it in the trolley. Well done, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. Peppa and George couldn't remember what was next on the list.
Dinosaur!
Guessed George.
George,
said Peppa.
there aren't any dinosaurs in the supermarket.
Daddy Pig laughed. Onions are next.
Onions?
Cried Peppa.
I remember.
She raced off and counted 4 onions into a bag.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Then she put them in the trolley. Well done, Peppa, said Daddy Pig, crossing them off the list. The last thing on the list was fruit.
I'll get it,
cried Peppa. It's George's turn now, said Mummy Pig. Replied George.
How about bananas?
Suggested Peppa.
Or apples or pears or oranges?
George shook his head. He didn't want any of Peppa's suggestions. He wanted a very big watermelon. George was very happy with his choice, even though it was bigger than him. Daddy Pig passed George the watermelon. It was very heavy. George dropped the watermelon in the trolley. It was so big, the whole trolley shook. Everyone laughed. Well done, George. Daddy Pig crossed fruit off the shopping list. That's everything, said Mummy Pig. Let's head to the checkout and pay. At the checkout, Peppa and Daddy Pig put the food on the conveyor belt. Miss Rabbit scanned each thing. Tomatoes, beep. Onions, beep. Watermelon, beep. Spaghetti, beep. Great big chocolate cake, beep. Chocolate cake? Said Mummy Pig, Peppa and George. That wasn't on the list. Peppa, did you put a chocolate cake in the trolley? Asked Mummy Pig. No, Mummy, replied Peppa. George, did you put a chocolate cake in the trolley? Asked Mummy Pig. No, replied George. Well, I didn't put it in the trolley, said Mummy Pig. Then who did? Asked Peppa. Said Daddy Pig, holding up the chocolate cake guiltily. I thought it might be nice for pudding. Daddy Pig, said Mummy Pig. Sorry, said Daddy Pig, turning red. It just looked so delicious. It does look rather yummy, said Mummy Pig. Let's pretend it was on the list. Hooray! Everyone cheered. When Peppa and her family arrived home, it was time for lunch. Hooray! They had delicious spaghetti, followed by a big piece of watermelon and a great big slice of chocolate cake. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig loved going shopping for food. But they loved eating it most of all. The end. Peppa Pig and the Vegetable Garden. Peppa Pig and her little brother George are playing at Grandpa Pig and Granny Pig's house. They love to help Grandpa Pig in the garden. What are you doing, Grandpa Pig? Asked Peppa. I'm planting seeds. What happens to the seeds? They grow into plants. I make a small hole in the ground, put the seed inside and cover it with earth. Then I water it. Everything in my garden grows from seeds like this.
Wow!
Ouch! Says Grandpa Pig. An apple fell on his head. Peppa and George laugh. Grandpa laughs too. Look, he says, inside the apple are more seeds. To grow more apple trees, says Peppa. I want to plant a seed, Peppa says. She makes a little hole and puts the seed in it. Then she covers the seed with earth. Grandpa lets her water it. Now we wait for it to grow, he says. Peppa waits. George waits. They wait and wait and wait. It's not doing anything, says Peppa. Grandpa Pig laughs. You have to be patient.
Ah! What's this?
Says Peppa.
It's a monster! Monster!
Says George. Grandpa Pig laughs. It's just a little snail.
Arr!
Says George.
Monster!
He likes a snail.
Let's play snails,
says Peppa. Grandpa Pig finds some baskets for Peppa and George, and they play snails in the garden.
Look, says Peppa, a butterfly. Why do butterflies love flowers?
They drink from flowers, says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
They drink the flower's nectar. It's their food.
Look at me, I'm playing butterfly,
Peppa shouts. George wants to be a butterfly too.
No, George, I am a butterfly. You can play worm.
George doesn't want to play worm.
Come on, George, says Grandpa Pig. Playing worm is fun.
Grandpa Pig shows George how to lie on the ground and wiggle. Soon Peppa wants to play worm too. Grandpa plants some more seeds. He drops them on the ground. But when he turns around, a little bird is eating them.
Shoo, shoo,
says Grandpa. Granny Pig comes to see.
We need a scarecrow,
she says. Grandpa Pig brings Peppa and George to his garden shed.
We'll find lots of things in here to make a scarecrow with,
he says. He finds sticks, string, some straw, and an old sack. They build the scarecrow, then dress it in some old clothes. Peppa and George paint a face. The birds see the scarecrow. They stop eating Grandpa's seeds.
The birds look sad,
says Peppa.
They must be hungry.
Granny Pig brings out a bird feeder.
Lunchtime, birds,
she calls. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig have come. Granny Pig needs blackberries to make a pie for lunch. Everybody wants to help.
This blackberry bush has been here since I was a little girl, says Mummy Pig.
Mummy Pig climbs a ladder to get to the berries at the top. Oh no! Mummy Pig falls into the bush. Where is she? Mummy Pig is okay, but she looks like a berry bush. Peppa and George pick berries from the mummy bush. Grandpa Pig, Peppa and George finish picking vegetables for lunch.
Hooray!
They make a salad. Granny Pig cuts up a cucumber.
I love cucumbers, says Peppa.
Yuck, says George. He doesn't like salad. Grandpa has an idea. He gives George a new plate.
Dinosaur,
says George. He eats the salad. He likes it. He loves Granny Pig's blackberry pie too. Yum! The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's school day. Peppa is going to school today. All of her friends are there. Today we have a new student, says Madame Gazelle. This is Emily Elephant. Emily is shy. She does not know what to say. Everyone is excited to meet Emily.
Can I show Emily how we do show and tell?
asked Peppa. Of course, says Madame Gazelle.
Peppa tells the class about her teddy bear.
Wow!
Next, it's free time. What would you like to do today? Peppa asks Emily. There is painting, clay or building blocks. Emily chooses building blocks. Peppa shows Emily how to stack the blocks. You put one on top of another, says Peppa. Like this? asks Emily.
Wow!
Wow, say the children. Emily Elephant is good at stacking blocks.
Hooray!
Next, it's playtime. Come on, Emily, shouts Peppa. At playtime we go outside, says Candy Cat.
Meow.
All the children run outside. First, they go down the slide. Whee! Then they play a game. Who is the loudest? asks Peppa. They all make loud sounds. What a lot of noise. Emily, you try, says Peppa. Emily makes a noise like a trumpet. She is the loudest of all. Can you spin the hula hoop? Susie Sheep asks Emily. Emily can spin the hula hoop. She is good at lots of things.
Wow!
But there is still one game left to play. My favourite game is jumping in muddy puddles, says Peppa. That is my favourite game too, shouts Emily. Peppa and Emily are so happy they are friends. What a nice day at school. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Castle Adventure. Peppa and George are going to visit a castle today. Maybe we'll see a dragon, says Daddy Pig. Arr, says George. George likes dragons. Only a pretend dragon, says Peppa. Dragons are not really real. Daddy Pig parks the car in the car park. Welcome to the castle tour, says Miss Rabbit. Cars are parked at the owner's risk. What does that mean? asks Peppa. Nothing, snorts Daddy Pig. They always say that in car parks. Mr. Rabbit comes out of the castle. He is dressed in armour like a knight. The castle tour starts here, he says. Let's fire the cannon. A cannonball shoots out of the cannon. It flies all the way down to the car park. Boom! Boom! Giggles George. This is where the king and queen would sit, says Mr. Rabbit. It's the throne room. George can be king and I can be queen, decides Peppa. May I carry on with the tour, your majesties? asks Mr. Rabbit. Yes, giggles Peppa, you may. Mr. Rabbit opens the door to a secret passageway. It leads to the dining hall. Look at all the food, gasped Daddy Pig. It's a real banquet, says Mummy Pig. Peppa picks up a bread roll. Ugh. The food is made of plastic. Don't worry, says Miss Rabbit. Your real banquet is coming. Miss Rabbit brings in 4 little boxes. Here we are, she cries. Ye olde cheese sandwich with Jester's pickle. It's a banquet in a box, cheers Peppa.
And now, says Mr. Rabbit, it's time to meet the dragon. Peppa and George climb to the top of the castle. A huge dragon stomps towards them, with Miss Rabbit waving from the top. The dragon is a robot. The robot dragon marches all the way up to the castle. It's nearly crushed our car, splutters Daddy Pig. Cars are parked at the owner's risk, Miss Rabbit reminds him. Cheers, George. He loves castles. Everyone loves castles. The end. George's first day at Playgroup. Today is George's first day at Playgroup.
Isn't George too small for Playgroup?
Asked Peppa. You can look after him, says Daddy Pig. Peppa isn't sure she wants George at her playgroup, but she likes the idea of looking after him.
Are you sure George is big enough?
Peppa asks when they arrive. Yes, he'll be fine, replies Daddy Pig.
Okay, he can come,
says Peppa. She holds onto George's hand. Snorts George, jumping up and down. Here is Madame Gazelle, Peppa's playgroup teacher. She looks after Peppa and her friends. Madame Gazelle tells the children that George is coming to play. The children are all very excited about meeting Peppa's little brother.
This is my little brother George,
cries Peppa.
Grrr, dinosaur,
growls George. Everyone laughs.
I wish I had a little brother like George,
buzz Susie Sheep. George shakes his toy, Mr. Dinosaur, at Madame Gazelle.
Grrr, dinosaur.
Ah, really scary, laughs Madame Gazelle. Peppa is proud of George, making everyone laugh.
George is my little brother. He's brilliant,
she says. Shall we show George how we paint pictures? Madame Gazelle asks the children.
George is not very good at painting, says Peppa, but I can show him how to paint a flower. Watch me, George,
snorts Peppa.
First, you paint a big circle.
Peppa carefully dips her brush into a pot of pink paint and draws a big pink circle right in the middle of her paper. George draws a big green circle.
No, George, that's the wrong colour,
snorts Peppa.
Watch me.
Peppa makes yellow petal shapes. George paints a green zigzag.
George, that's the wrong shape,
says Peppa. Peppa admires her flower painting.
Perfect,
she says happily. George is still painting. Instead of a stalk and leaves, he has painted another circle with 5 lines sticking out from it.
You're doing it all wrong,
says Peppa.
I've painted a flower,
says Peppa. Very good, Peppa, smiles Madame Gazelle. And look, George has painted a dinosaur. Madame Gazelle sticks Peppa and George's pictures on the wall. Now it is time to go home. What will you paint next time, George? asked Madame Gazelle.
Dinosaur!
Giggles George. everyone laughs. The end.
Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's lawnmower. Peppa and George are playing in the garden with their ball. Come on, George, says Peppa, throwing the ball up into the air. The ball lands in some long grass. Peppa and George go to find it. Peppa and George are having lots of fun. But where is the ball? The grass is too long, says Peppa. We'll never find it. Mummy Pig decides that it's time to cut the grass. We've let the garden get out of control, she says. Daddy Pig wheels out the lawnmower. It's a bit old and rusty, says Mummy Pig. Nonsense, says Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig goes to push the lawnmower through the long grass, but it falls apart. Perhaps it's time to phone Grandpa Pig for help, says Mummy Pig. Grandpa Pig drives his motor mower over to Peppa's house. This is a job for Betsy, says Grandpa Pig. Betsy is the name of Grandpa Pig's motor lawnmower.
Wow!
Betsy doesn't go very fast. They are slowing down the traffic. Grandpa Pig toots Betsy's horn proudly. Finally, Grandpa Pig arrives.
Hooray!
He drives Betsy into Peppa's garden. Hello, everyone. I hear there's some grass that needs cutting, says Grandpa Pig. Hello, Betsy, says Peppa. Grandpa, can we ride on Betsy? Of course, says Grandpa Pig. Hop aboard.
Hooray!
Peppa and George climb up onto the motor mower next to Grandpa Pig. Hold tight, says Grandpa Pig. Together they drive into the long grass. Whoosh! Grandpa Pig is having lots of fun. Betsy is very good at cutting grass. Peppa and George are enjoying their ride. Grandpa, you've missed a bit, says Peppa. Good spot, Peppa. What's that over there, says Grandpa Pig. Our ball, cheers Peppa. Hooray! There you go, says Grandpa Pig. Cutting grass is easy with Betsy. Thank you for cutting our grass, Grandpa Pig, says Daddy Pig. And thank you for finding our ball, Grandpa, says Peppa. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.